Today, we're going to be looking at NCBA Bank.
NCBA Bank is this year's overall winner.
NCBA Group PLC has today announced the completion of its 100% acquisition.
NCBA Group that has returned 4.7 billion shillings in profits after tax.
NCBA Group has reported a 5% increase in its profit after tax.
Bank and Commercial Bank of Africa are expected to formalize their union by the end of this year.
As NCBA, we still have a long runway to cover. As Isaac and I are going through this budget journey, we kept talking about the fact that we're the third largest bank by assets, the second largest bank by deposits, yet we are only found in 17 counties.
NCBA is very familiar with each of us. We've encountered it, heard news about it. With that said, let's dive into this video. And before we do, there are 3 simple rules. Number 1, think about this in the long term. 5 to 10 years of you holding the stock of a company. This is not just something short term and you can trade day to day. These are the strategies I'm giving. Number 2, if you're actually going to put money into this, think of having money first of all, 6 months worth of savings or expenses set aside, and then any money on top of that is what you can use in the stock market to avoid any of these high fees when it comes to transacting. And number 3, because you are getting very valuable insights from this video, remember you cannot watch this video without liking or subscribing to the channel. So let's dive into it. And first things first, NCBA was formed through a merger when it was established in 2019, when the merger came through between CBA Bank and NIC Bank. The current CEO is John Gashora, has always been since the inception of NCBA, and it has operations in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, and Ivory Coast. One of the interesting things I came across was that for all Formula One fans, they actually have a package for you to go into one of the Grand Prix. Specifically, that was the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix last year, and the packages were going for about $3,450. So in case you're thinking of something to do with that close to the holidays around December, it's also something you can think about saving towards. And an interesting fact here is that the CEO, John Gashora, earned approximately 185.78 million shillings in 2023. That's approximately 15 million per month. I put out there because it's not every other day you hear of big salaries like this, but in case you're also thinking and aspiring to set your future goals, this is one of the things you can consider as one of the big main targets, and it's actually achievable. Now, we will be looking at also some of the main statistics about NCBA. One of them, as I had mentioned, about fuliza and mshwari and loop. These are some of the things of facilities that are spearheading the loan industry. If you look at NCBA in 2023, it was able to disburse 789 billion shillings in terms of loans, and that was an increase of 27% from 2022. And of course, for 2024, when they produce their report, I'm sure there'll equally be a bigger increase. And equally for mshwari, that's 102.4 billion shillings. These are people who will never walk into any of the NCBA banks, but will always be able to benefit. So something to keep in mind. So we'll be using this tier, and at the end of the video, I'll be able to tell you where exactly does it lie. Is it an S tier? An S tier is basically a company that is very well managed, has very good debt level ratios, and at the end of the day, it is undervalued in terms of Mr. Market here, who sets the prices for all the companies that are running in the stock market. He is setting it below what it is truly worth, and will be assessing that. Those are the S tier companies that I advise people to buy. Number 1 factor, as you can see right here, is the margin of safety. Now, the margin of safety is the difference between what Mr. Market says the price should be for this institution and what the actual price is based on various valuation methods. I used 4 valuation methods just to come up with this average, and the average price I could come up with was 52.5 shillings, and what Mr. Market has set it at is 48.2 shillings. So that difference in the prices, that's the margin, and the margin of safety currently is at 8.2%. It's okay, but not so great. So we would want a bigger margin if we are more interested in investing in it, because it basically means a lower margin, it can easily come to that price very soon. So that gives a 7 out of 10 for the margin of safety. For the dividend yield, that was coming to 9.85 shillings. It's basically a very good way of determining, at this market price that Mr. Market has set, is it giving the proper dividends worth of that? And having a dividend yield of 9.85% is good, and will give it 9 out of 10 points. For the price to book ratio, it was meh, because currently the price to book ratio of the stock is 0.82. It's a good sign of undervaluation, but still it's not so good. A lower price to book ratio would be better, because it shows that it is actually way more undervalued, and for that I would give it an 8 out of 10 points. Similar to the price earnings, for this one it was coming to 3.51, which is okay. Other companies, normally you have to pay a higher price for the earnings that they are getting, but it's a good sign of, in as much as it's a good sign of undervaluation, it's still not really there if you're very interested in terms of price to earnings ratio as a metric. So I also gave it another 8 out of 10 points. For the dividend history, since its establishment in 2019 till date, it has always been paying dividends, even in the COVID year, so that's an extra plus, and for that I give it a 10 out of 10 points and a happy John Gashora. And financial stability, it has a debt to equity ratio of 0.06. Basically translated, that means for every 1 shilling of debt that there is, it's able to pay out 16 shillings out of the equity. So it's very stable and very good, and another happy John Gashora and 10 out of 10 points. For the total, that is 51 out of 60 points. That's a clear line directly to the S tier, and therefore in my view this is a stock definitely worth investing in, and I will put it right up here together with its other colleague KCB Bank. And we can clearly say out of all this that one key factor you can see coming out of this is that financial institutions with heavier regulation towards what they are doing, and every one of their policies by the central bank, assists in making the financial institutions more stable, and probably it's one thing that can be considered for other institutions to make them more stable, have better regulatory bodies behind them. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you for liking, sticking to the end, and finding out the actual rating. Remember to like, subscribe, comment down below what you think. Are the ratings fair? What else would you want to see improved? In the next video, I'll be looking at Equity Bank, the biggest bank that we have in Eastern Africa. So see you next time.